My face currently feels like I've been run through by Tom Stewart.
Puts it to the top of the square. Oh, beautiful little fist in there by Dale. Crucial centimetre moments.
He definitely has a bit of the Belcho spirit. As I have a bit of the Belcho spirit.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the only podcast that we're recording all Olympics long over the next couple of weeks. Not about the Olympics, we'll just be recording. And the
there
Olympics
will be no Olympics talk whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean realistically, what is it, 2 weeks of Olympics?
Maybe.
That's 2 episodes, maybe 1. I'm Jack, I'm joined as always by Alistair.
I'm here.
We normally start these episodes with votes on the Scarlet Savani medal for the best defender in the comp, 5 through to 1.
Is that what we're doing?
I think that's what we're doing.
Okay, you said
Yeah.
normally.
Well, yeah,
we,
I was just trying a different wording.
You're implying that we weren't doing it.
Well, you know, maybe I'll cut the episode weirdly.
Don't do that.
Who is your one this week?
I really struggled to pick a one this week.
So
I had 5 through 2 set pretty quickly, pretty easily. My one vote could have gone to a handful of people. Closest honourable mention was Daniel Rioli, just missed out. But I'm giving my one vote to Jacob Wiedering. 14 disposals, 10 of them being kicks, 10 intercepts, 3 score involvements, 8 spoils, 8 rebounds, 50. Just a perfectly normal one vote game.
Very
fine.
Wiedering game.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't have him in my votes this week. He was my special mentions. My one vote was to teammate of Jacob Wiedering, Adam Sart.
Fair enough.
He had 18 disposals, 10 of those were intercepts and 10 were contested. He had 5 rebounds, 10 defensive half pressure acts, 3 score involvements, 2 of those were launches, and he had a game-high 18.3 rating points. I thought he was good, despite the fact that game was messy for lots of it.
Mm-hmm.
His ability to create scoring passages in the last quarter was probably what set the teams apart.
Third quarter.
That's the one.
The loose ball he got off half back that turned into like a 4 bounce run is probably the highlight of that whole game, and you could probably turn the rest of it off. There you go. That's the review of that game if we're doing that part early.
2 votes?
2 votes is to, and I do not know how to pronounce his name, Dara Joyce.
Oh,
from
yeah,
the Brisbane
okay.
Lions. Yep. He has the lowest ranking points out of all of the people I've given votes to today.
Oh, yeah?
But he had 15 disposals, 14 of them being kicks. He had 8 intercepts and 7 marks, 3 score involvements from 4 rebound 50s, 7 spoils, and was involved in 7 contested one-on-ones, and he only lost 1 of them, which is pretty fucking good.
Yeah, that's pretty good, especially in such a big game.
Yep.
Yeah, good stuff. Dara Joyce. I think it'll be just him and Mo next week. Cause
isn't he done too? Isn't he out
Joyce
as well?
Oh, he is, isn't he? Yeah. So it's just Mo.
It's just Mo, and they were thinking about swinging Hipwood back, they
Nothing
said.
but Mo. Now bring in Zane Zakatelski for his debut.
Is that even how you say that? Zakatelski?
I hope so. My 2 votes was to your honourable mention, Danny Rioli.
Yep.
28 disposals, 10 of those were intercepts, 9 contested. He had 5 marks, 3 of those were intercepts, 3 spoils, 7 rebounds, 11 defensive half pressure acts, 631 metres gained. He was really good. That game wasn't great, but
the biggest problem is just how badly they got smacked, right?
Especially, they were close until 3/4 time, and then Port just, as I feel like everyone kind of felt was going to happen, Port just put the foot down and burst.
I wrote down all of Rioli's stats, so he was very, very close.
Yeah.
So I totally understand that. My 3 votes, and I'm assuming he's going to be in your vote somewhere, is to Rory Lobb from the Western Bulldogs.
Votes. Yep.
21 disposals, 14 intercepts, 9 marks. He had no contested losses from at least 2 contests, 3 spoils, 3 rebounds, 389 metres gained, and most importantly, kept Jeremy Cameron to 1 goal, which is not easy.
I really enjoyed that Geelong were trying to take advantage of getting Cameron away from him at some point, and Rory Lobb just didn't go to the bench. At 3/4 time, they both just had 100% game time, which for Cameron especially is unheard of.
Yeah.
But Lobb just
didn't ping a string, to be honest.
Sat on him. I think I had it at 4 rather than a 5 for that game because they only had to mind Cameron because of the late change of Neil, which was bizarre, but he was really good. My 3 was to Jack Buckley.
Fair enough.
Who I thought was brilliant. He had 23, 14 intercepts, 7 marks, 2 of those were intercepts, 4 spoils, 5 rebounds, 5 pressure acts, 2 score involvements and 1 launch. It was good.
And I picked a different giant.
Yeah.
I have
Whitfield or
picked...
Iden?
Huh?
Whitfield or Iden?
Iden.
Connor Iden was, very, very good.
He was the highest rated player on the
I think
ground?
he was, yeah.
27 disposals, 377 metres gained, 11 intercepts, 7 marks, no losses from 2 contests, 5 scores, 5 rebounds, and his heat map is just a wall in that defensive 50. And most of those disposals were actually handballs, which I thought were interesting. But yeah, I thought he was good.
Yeah, he's having a really good season. I think I gave him votes earlier in the year when you gave them to Lee Kalia. But yeah, I'm a big Connor Iden fan.
Always have been.
And I feel like he's having a career best season. And they're on the march.
I'm not sure it's career best. I think he has played better, but he had a really good game on the weekend.
And they're on the march, GWS. So, your 5, my 5, same 5. Your 5.
Well, it might not be the same 5.
Well, no, yeah, maybe not.
Mine's to James Sicily.
Mine's to James Sicily.
Yeah, it's a classic Sicily game, right? You don't really say much more about that.
I saw a lot of people being like, I can't believe that Fly didn't give Ginnivan 5 votes and only gave him 3. And I'm like, one of the coaches didn't give Sicily any. One gave him 5, the other one gave him none. He was, I thought, best on ground, like Ginnivan for the theatre, but
I think Ginnivan was best on ground.
30 disposals, 10 intercepts, 9 contested. He had 604 metres gained. All 4 score involvements were launches, 8 defensive half pressure acts, 1 is one-on-one, 6 marks, 1 intercept, 9 rebounds. Great game.
I've also, instead of writing down he had 20 kicks, I wrote down he had 20 licks. So no other player did that this week.
No, I wouldn't expect they would.
5 votes.
Those Hawthorn boys, nothing would shock me. Yeah, so outside of, I wrote Iden and Whitfield were the best to miss out.
I've got Whitfield down. I thought Griffin Logue was good coming back from knee injury to break even with Charlie Curnow in the first half, and unfortunately got off the chain
next week.
Harris Andrews until he had to go off.
Yep.
That's about it. I really struggled for a 1.
I wrote Mitchell Hinge. I couldn't justify votes in a game where
Mitchell Hinge too.
Like that it was that easy to move from backline to backline. Zach Guthrie I thought was really good despite a shit game. Jack Sinclair, Jack Scrimshaw, and Ali earlier.
I had Mitch Hinge in the consideration for 1. I'd written down his stats to that point, but when I deleted his stats, I deleted his name, so he didn't get an honourable mention.
Totally understandable. That game, no one defended was the main highlight. Well, Ben Mackay did, but then every time he got the ball, he gave it straight to Ben Keys.
Does that count as defending though?
No, I'd argue that's reverse engineered attacking.
How many rating points do you lose for taking an inset mark and then handballing it directly to your opponent who kicks a goal?
I don't know.
I think you might lose a whole point at least. Maybe not, maybe more.
I learned in looking into some stuff that rating points are directly affected by your expected score as well. So if you take a shot from 10 metres out directly in front and you miss, you will lose 5 rating points.
Yeah, I read Emlyn Breese's thing on it that they tweeted.
Yeah, shout out Emlyn Breese. I said a big one this week. I really enjoyed that stat of like kind of clarified score involvements that weren't just anyone involved in a chain. I thought it was really cool.
I didn't read that.
Yeah. Well, they made a so basically it breaks down not just if you're involved in the chain, but how far down the chain you are involved. So like if you're one of the kicks that really does result in the score or the launch, so if you're doing an aggressive kick, and how many of those chains are expected to result in scores, and then if there's a score on the end.
This is all maths.
It was a lot of numbers in it, but it was good. Anyway, quick thoughts on the weekend's games. Essendon, Adelaide.
Yeah, that was a game.
A lot of goals. Ben Keys.
I saw the 2-minute replay or whatever is lauded as game of the year.
I think that goes to the game from Sunday morning.
Close does not equal good. That's what I'll say about that. Next.
Giants, Gold Coast.
Yeah, we expected Gold Coast to lose. Should they have lost by 39? Probably not.
It's one of the expected score win by 20, lose by 40. It's embarrassing. What did Ben King kick? 5 points or something?
Yep.
Yeah. St Kilda, West Coast.
Poor from West Coast. I'm not going to back them again because I said that they had a sneaky chance here and they lost by 72 points.
Saints just did what they had to in the second half, and Membry looked like himself.
Membry looked like he was playing West Coast of 2 years ago.
Yeah, and he was Membry of 5 years ago. Hawthorn, Collingwood.
Collingwood season's done.
That's it. The good night from Ginnivan was
I mean, technically they still can.
They do have a chance, but it's very hard from
I don't
here.
think it's happening.
Geelong Bulldogs.
Oof, Bulldogs are coming. That's what I'll say.
Mud.
Yeah. Worst ground he's ever trained on, apparently, Mitch Duncan.
Yeah,
That's his home ground. I feel like he shouldn't be saying that in the media when he is a Geelong player.
The post-game interviews with both sides, like there was Zach Toohey and Jamal Uehagen, all of them were like, yeah, it was a bit sticky out there. It was a bit... I really enjoyed that Chris Scott learnt nothing from 2019 and went, maybe it's wet. I should drop our tallest player.
He's allergic to rucks. Let's just...
It was a full forward this time. They had... it was 15 marks inside 50 to 4.
I thought these were quick thoughts.
Yeah, all right. Port Brisbane. Port Richmond.
Port Richmond. Honestly, Richmond scoring 75 is a ticket in itself.
Better than Richmond, I think, is my... Brisbane, Sydney.
Where did the time go?
What a game.
Where did the time go?
Yeah.
The clock was stopped for like a minute.
Brisbane won.
Should they have?
Yes.
Based on a minute?
Based on the fact that I tipped them. It took me to number one now, goal.
Fuck you.
Freo, Melbourne.
Melbourne just aren't what they used to be. Obviously, they're missing Petrarca and Oliver, which is a huge part of their engine, but their defence does not hold up.
Name a ruck when you're playing Jackson and Darcy.
That's also true. I forgot about that. But like if you think of Melbourne's defence and you think of 116 being kicked against them, it's just not a common thing.
That Freo team's kicked basically 20 goals against them twice this year, which is embarrassing. Carlton North.
Move on.
Yep. Sometimes, in a good year, you almost lose to a much worse team than you should.
Bulldogs almost lost to North 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, the Brisbane-Sydney game. I don't know if there was a moment at the end where Archie ended up in a 2-on-1 with two Sydney defenders, did all the hard work to flick it past them and basically make them run into each other, and then ran into an open goal and hit the post. And I was like, man, imagine if Sydney went at the other end and kicked it, you'd be spewing. I don't know if you did. I did pops and flops this week.
I did not.
Very simple ones. My pops were Ginnivan. That was good.
Yeah, that's a good pop.
Especially against Collingwood. Rory Lobb.
Yep.
Rory Lobb with the asterisk of, we've also seen Rory Lobb look like the best full forward in the comp games, and then the worst the week after, so I'm holding thoughts on that one. And Brisbane-Sydney, just the game.
Yeah.
It was fucking awesome. It looked like basically the two best teams going at it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is probably who we're seeing in the grand final.
Yeah.
Depending on where Brisbane finish.
They could end up clashing.
If they finish fourth or third, it could be a struggle, but I think if they finish second, it's those two.
I think ceiling Bulldogs Carlton are both obviously well and truly in the mix, but the floor of Sydney and Brisbane feels a lot higher in the second half of the year.
I think right now those are the four teams plus Hawthorn, weirdly.
Plus Hawthorn.
If they make finals, they could be a real wild card. So weird that we're at this point. If you'd asked us 4 weeks ago if Bulldogs and Hawthorn would have been that, we would have just laughed.
Even Brisbane a little bit longer ago than that. I guess we were talking about Brisbane
so early.
Yeah. My flops were Hipwood.
Yep.
Maynard.
Yep.
And Chris Scott dropping balls in the wet.
Maynard literally a flop. It's like the third time he's done it in the last couple of weeks.
Massive loser energy. I got attacked by a lot of Collingwood fans on Twitter for it.
I'm sure you did.
Because all I retweeted was, if this is your hero, you're a loser. And it was him climbing across Lipinski's face and putting his boots into his chest to try and get to Ginnivan, who was already on the floor. Anyway, Ginnivan made him look like a fucking dickhead all game, so there's a winner there. Mm-hmm. And Collingwood fans can't do the, well, one of them's got a premiership medal about this one, because they've both got one. Anyway, considering I'm guessing you didn't do any.
I did none. I'll be completely honest. I was footballed out this weekend.
So was I.
Checked out and I was done.
Did almost all of the preparation today, because I went, oh shit, it's Wednesday.
The fact that there are games coming up even gives me pause. My team plays on the Friday, and I just don't want to watch that. I am very low key on football at the moment, and it's just there's so much. There's stupid news during the week. It's all just tiring. Yeah,
I was saying to someone today, I was like, I feel like I've narrowed it down that there are 3 news stories currently. One is Collingwood have lost their aura. I don't know why every journalist keeps using the word aura about Collingwood.
The word of the year.
I know it is, but it's not. Anyway, 2 is, where is Dustin Martin? Where will he be next year? And I can't even remember what I wrote 3 as, but I was like, it's a good thing it's not like a really close season with like historically interesting matchups over the next few weeks, because fuck, I mean, I was missing out on some content that was actually interesting.
I mean, I don't want to talk about the tribunal, but the real story of the year is how shit the tribunal is.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. How does Hipwood...
Yeah, the tunnelling incident
Awful.
is possibly
That's the most dangerous
worst
act I've seen
miss.
on the footy field this year.
And we know it's suspendable because it happened to Nick Larkey before, and the AFL's explanation on why this one wasn't is dog shit.
Yep.
Let's be completely honest. And I've said it before, and I feel like I'm picking on her, but Laura Kane is so fucking frustrating. And that looks like it's going to be a long time tenure, so God help us.
They just get rid of Michael Christian, fuck's sake.
Well, that needs to happen first, but then it's just going to be the same old.
Yeah.
I'll just find some other mouthpiece.
Well, I mean, it used to be 3 guys, specifically for that reason. And they went, you know what? It'll streamline the decisions if we make it one person. Which board was this from? I wanted to find a couple of these, and most of the boards were just kind of...
Everyone's in the same mood. It's the winter malaise. No one's
too cold,
interested.
especially over in Victoria.
Yeah, no one's
I remember
interested.
reading about their weather last week. I was like, I'm not playing football in that. I think the Geelong Bulldogs game at Bouncedown, it was like 6 degrees and raining. That's
Did you see Dylan Buckley's Carlton draft game?
Oh, yeah.
That motherfucker was covered in mud.
No, thank you.
He was poo brown.
Anyway, so my one I found was, I can't wait for this season to be over. Not that I expect us to bounce back next year. Merely just so that next year the wider AFL world can stop talking about us like we're a good team and that beating us is some form of accomplishment. Our team and system needs complete rebuilding.
Melbourne?
Collingwood.
Yeah, it was one of the two.
Yeah.
I went out on a limb because I thought it was too obvious to be Collingwood, but that makes sense.
Melbourne fans are just... I feel like they suffered for so long that they didn't get their hopes up too high when they were good.
Well, it's because they only open the newspaper and find out their team's playing finals and go, oh shit, I should probably go to games.
I guess I'll cancel my
so
timeshares.
You know, if they make it into the 8, they'll start arcing up.
Yeah. And they might. I don't think they will, but they might.
It's tight.
On that note, it's 13 teams, there's 8 spots. You can probably lock in Sydney.
I think Sydney and Brisbane are the only teams I'm locking in.
Misses out, do you think?
Essendon.
Yep.
I think right now, as the ladder sits, Western Bulldogs go in and Essendon miss out. And the only other change I can see happening is Hawthorn for Port.
Yeah, I don't think Port make it, but if Port don't make it, Essendon do. So I think it's one of those two is the one that drops out. Essendon arguably have the harder draw.
I think Geelong hang on by the skin of their teeth.
Thanks to the draw.
I did do a ladder predictor, so let's see what that says. I know I've got Swans winning it all.
Yeah, as I think many would.
My ladder says exactly what I've just said.
Yep.
So I've got Swans Brisbane as top 2, then Carlton Freo, Geelong 5th, but only a game ahead of the next 3, which I have as Bulldogs, GWS, Hawthorn. And may I just say, Geelong Hawthorn, round 1 of finals, awesome.
Would be huge.
Bulldogs GWS, first round of finals, awesome. Brisbane, Carlton, Sydney Freo, not a lot of rivalry there, but they're all good teams. So that would be a pretty elite.
Yeah, you'd take that.
Yeah.
Geelong Freo is arguably going to be a game for 4th spot, the way we're headed.
I've got
back Freo in comfortably in Perth currently.
And my ladder is based on the fact that I think Hawthorn are going to beat Carlton.
Yeah.
If you change that result, Carlton are second.
Drop out, I assume.
Brisbane. Oh, actually, let's have a look. No, they stay 8th, but Carlton and Brisbane swap. Because I just think they're pretty much going to win everything from here on out.
Yeah. They are on a roll.
Yep.
I think every team's had a mulligan recently, and I'm willing to say that Geelong's one against the Bulldogs on the weekend was, in the same way that Hawthorn's game against Geelong was.
Oh, you'd hope so.
Sydney don't seem to be having bad ones. They lose by less than a goal every time they lose somehow.
Yeah, no, lost by less than 10 points, right?
Yeah.
Like more than 10 points, sorry.
All of the good teams, except for basically Brisbane and Sydney, have had one game in the last little while that you've gone,
Who do you have finishing last?
North.
I don't.
You got West Coast?
Richmond.
Okay.
I have Richmond finishing on 2 wins for the year.
That's fair.
I can't see it.
Richmond have showed a bit more fight recently, but again, that last quarter was
But I think
bad,
North
wasn't it?
are showing
a lot more.
Yeah. And I think West Coast have 1 win left in them, and it's against Richmond.
If they lose that,
the injuries at Richmond, plus no Dusty, no experience on that line.
yeah.
Who knows which of Prestia, Taranto, and Hopper are going to be playing? Because they all are in or out. Taranto's been alright since he came back.
My third news story of the year, I did write it down, was how can Melbourne offload arguably their greatest modern footballer for peanuts?
The third
Every
story,
week I'm finding a new way for them to be like, Melbourne need to get rid of him somehow. It's like, just give it a year.
let's be real, the third story of the year has just been journalists sucking off Essendon.
Yes, which is...
Sam Draper is an A grader apparently. Durham and Caldwell are now A graders. Merritt should be the All-Australian captain. Ben Mackay, Recruit of the Year, which, as we've said before, the Recruit of the Year is the recruit that wins the grand final. So, I don't know. I wouldn't mind if they were, doing the same for other teams.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think other teams are getting that exact same.
I just wanted to,
who's sucking off Freo?
Yeah, I know.
Why did Josh Draper not get a rising star nom?
That week especially, against Sydney, in Sydney, he literally saved the game.
Anyway.
On the Dustin Martin news topic, there was some news about Dusty's uncle also potentially being deported as part of that big unions crackdown and involvement with organised crime. And I thought after Cameron Mooney's recent comments about Geelong, recruiting people from good families, it was kind of ironic that what prevented them from winning an extra one, maybe two, definitely one, maybe two, maybe three flags, was Dustin Martin, a guy from a person with a difficult background and an unstable family. Which is also total nonsense. Obviously Mooney talking out of his ass because, you look at Jack Stephen, Tyson Stengel.
I was going to bring up Jack Stephen straight away.
Jimmy Bartell, Max Rook. And, even if, obviously the father-son element's different, but even Gary Ablett didn't exactly come from a fucking stable household.
Did they draft any New Zealanders? Don't think they have.
No.
Maybe that's what they're saying. Maybe he's being xenophobic or, at worst, racist. You heard it here first. Families are racist.
Oh God!
There's your title for the episode.
I actually looked up your the first 86 stats today.
It is my first 86, by the way.
I ran the numbers today. I love that you called that 5 games into the season. Mm-hmm. As the season's gone,
I like looking at silly little patterns.
As the season's gone, 114 out of 117 games where one or both teams have scored over 86. The team first to 86 has won. There has been one
draw.
Two
of the ones are Adelaide, right?
So the draw and one of the wins are Adelaide. The other one was when North got to 120 before Collingwood got to 30 and then lost.
That is an outlier of all outliers.
Yeah. So Adelaide is 2 of those 3. I actually looked. Adelaide weren't first to 86. So were first to 86 against Essendon. Essendon were first to 85 and to 90, but Adelaide were first to 86.
There you go.
So yeah, it's 114 out of 117 is a hell of an indicator.
Well, we're just doing shrinkflation. It was first to 100, now it's down to first to 86.
Yeah. Because I checked.
They're taking 25 grams away from your chip packets, kids. They're taking 14 points away from your margin.
There was a few times where it proved more reliable than both first to 85 and first to 90 when I ran through all the games. Of those games, 20 of those decided by the first to 86 have been by 2 or less goals.
Yeah.
So it is a close game indicator as well. It's just obviously sometimes one team makes it to 40. But even in the close ones, it's more often than not correct, which is cool. Well done for throwing that out in round one, game 1. You're like,
because I was looking at
because Carlton hit exactly 86 2 weeks in a row, and
I was like, well, that's how it works, and then 86. It just continued to work
until Carlton lost Adelaide.
Yeah, I know, and I threw a temper tantrum.
Yeah,
you ruined my algorithm.
So Adelaide were in the lead against Brisbane, and then Brisbane got back into that one for the draw. That Carlton Adelaide game was so goal for goal at the end there anyway. And then, North is, like you said, the ultimate outlier of all outliers. North, this last week, would not have had that happen, the way they've been playing. That.
I don't know, the alleged Alistair Clarkson breaking down and being soft has worked. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or they've been drinking that Space Jam juice. I don't know.
Yeah, or coaches being nice is the flavour of the month. But West Coast should get Justin Langer, a man with no football coaching experience. Get him in.
I think everyone who has watched the test would go, well, that's a stupid idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
And anyone who's like, you know why they should hire this coach? There's a little TV show called Ted Lasso, and it worked in Ted Lasso.
In a fiction story about a different sport.
They should just fucking get Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah, that's better.
I think that would be more fun.
I'm here for that.
I think that would be, and he has to pretend to be Ted Lasso the whole time.
Yeah, I don't know.
One of the biggest
get that baseballer. Oh no, he died. I thought that baseball coach you liked.
Yeah, the 2000s one. One of the plot points in Ted Lasso is he has like a fever dream and discovers total football, where like getting everyone on the move.
Yes.
And I just wanted to like picture him doing that for AFL, being like, what if we launched the ball from half back to our forwards and kick goals?
That's how the Kick It Forward boys got popular. That's that TikTok where like they're standing at the sidelines of a West Coast game and they're like, just fucking kick it forward.
Get them to do it as a collective. I mean, it can't be much worse.
Kick It Forward boys and Backchat boys just all like share the salary. So you got Brayshaw, you got Scope. It's this whole coaches. They're all the head coach, and then there's also assistant coaches. And they could figure it out.
How would that work in the salary cap? Are they splitting it, or are they being paid a mil each?
No, they're splitting it.
Real talk, they should just go for the most experienced assistant. Don't fuck around and try and get a Buckley or rip a coach out of their existing club. Don't go for Hinkley. Don't go for Scott. Don't go for Fagan. Just go for the most experienced assistant.
Yep. The person who has the best credentials and the best presentation, which Ross Lyon refused to do at St Kilda, for what their vision would be for the club. Like that's,
Luke Beveridge was an assistant. I'm trying to think. I'm imagining.
Oh, you saw
Chris
me
Scott
make the
was.
insane network of assistants.
Simon Goodwin was not an experienced coach, although that one's a bit iffy. Craig McRae was out of nowhere. They wanted Sam Mitchell. They didn't get him, but he was also an assistant coach, and looks like he's going to take Hawthorn right the fuck back up.
Let me find my crazy slideshow of what coaches were assistants under who. Chris Scott was under Mark Harvey at Fremantle.
Yeah. So if they'd gone and ripped Mark Harvey out of Fremantle, would they have won a flag? Potentially not. Pick the most experienced assistant and let them build a coaching regime around them. Let them pick their assistants and get something sorted.
So McRae was under Clarkson and Malthouse.
Yep.
Prior. Uze had been under Clarkson and then Goodwin. Beveridge had been under Clarkson as well, as we know. He was one of the many. Scott had been under Harvey. Goodwin was under Ruse and Hardwick. There's a whole series of people who were assistants under
it doesn't
good
always
coaches
work. You've got your Brendan Boltons, who are very experienced but just got a bad team. And I think West Coast need to focus on the draft super hard, and they need a coach to come through with them. Mm-hmm. Simple as that.
I agree. They need... I don't know who the answer is. Leon Cameron, get him in.
Again, that's experience.
Yeah, but he's an assistant again now.
I mean, but he's been a head coach.
No, I agree. But yeah, there's always so much talk about who the best bet is, but the media doesn't know. Like it's always someone who is just like behind the scenes given the best application.
I still can't believe Caracella hasn't picked one up yet.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because he's
he's barely being listed for this as well. So.
Like we saw, obviously Dean Cox said he's not interested, which is probably smart from him. If you've got what I assume is Dean Cox money, you don't need head coach money.
Oh, I know he wants to be head coach though. So
just not at West Coast.
Maybe he really enjoys living in Sydney.
Maybe he does.
Maybe not everyone there recognises him.
I was about to say,
they're just like, oh,
nice.
That fucker's tall.
Yeah. I imagine in Perth that he would be annoyed and harassed
24/7
constantly. Ross Lyon served directly under Parkin.
Yes, I did know that.
That's how long he's been going around for. That's mental.
Yep. Explains a lot too.
Yeah. I always look at that every time the Uber Eats ad comes on. I'm like, I thought we were getting Cuddly Ross. I thought, but
no, Cuddly Ross is at the footy, not on your couch, not on your living room table.
God, I'd love to.
You don't want Cuddly Ross on your couch.
No, or at your Christmas party. Oy vey. Anyway, I think that's all of my notes for this week.
Oh, Ross. Yeah, I got nothing. I said, I'm footballed out.
I went through the votes on the Scarlets of Bunny medal today and I realised I'd made an error. I don't know where the extra votes went, but I had a total of 519 votes, where there should have been 516. So I recalculated them all, but then after I figured it out, the top 10 was still exactly the same.
Who had the extra votes?
I don't know. However, what I did learn was that I wrote Dylan Buckley one of the weeks instead of Jack Buckley. So Jack
That's
Buckley
funny.
was 3 votes short of where he should have been, and Dylan Buckley in 2024 temporarily had 3 votes, which has now been fixed.
That's really funny.
But I did have a little laugh at that. But yeah, it's fixed now, and the top 10 was the same. And I don't think we gave votes to anyone that can take the crown this week. Wiedering one
got
behind,
one.
so he'll be.
Sicily.
Sicily must be in there somewhere.
He's
Let me
got to be
look.
nearing the top
And if
10.
he's getting 10,
Yeah, he's getting 10 from us, so he's got to jump in.
let's have a look. Defenders votes. Sicily. He's a fair way down at the moment. Alex.
Yeah, it's because he's had a bit of an off year and did he get suspended this year or injured? I can't remember.
Both. Because he kicked Andrew McGrath. He was on 7, so he's only on 17. Wiedering will be 1 behind. Jack Buckley will move into equal 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, not much change this week. We gave them to people who just do the hard yards this week. It wasn't a great week of footy in general, let alone defending. So
No. So this is just my new... I'm scrolling through the AFL app segment. Let's talk about what they're talking about. Names on the back of jumpers, yay or nay?
yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah,
It
why not?
lets people get into the game easier.
I'm just thinking about my brother-in-law who's getting into football for the first time this year. It would help him immensely.
It would help
And it would
BT.
help the opposition as well, because it's very easy to identify if they're talking about a name, you know it's for the opposition. I mean, it doesn't affect us because we're
Yeah.
footy heads, so it's like, it's not a big deal, and traditionalists can suck my dick.
Yeah, I like names.
And on that, get rid of the fucking bounce. Tom Lynch, should he play again this year, or should he just retire?
I think he should play next year.
You reckon he should play next
I
year?
think he should not play again this year, because
think-
why would you risk that?
You think he's got something to
He should
offer
play
Richmond
for
next
Melbourne
year?
next year.
I mean, if he could, sure. If they could somehow do that trade,
It'd be great.
but they've just signed Harrison Petty long term, so on longish term.
Harrison
No,
Petty.
long term.
Yeah, long term.
There was one other one I had, but now I've lost it. No, that's it. That's all from my scroll.
There's something names on jumpers wise.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, last one was just 5 on the bench or sub.
Yeah, I laughed about this. I was talking to Glico about it earlier today, and I was like,
Brad Scott again.
yeah, Brad Scott again. So what we'd do is we'd go next year, we'd have just 5 on the bench. And then in 2028, they'd be like, they've tightened the concussion protocol. So just any knock to the head, you have to leave the game. So we've got to have a sub. And then in 2029, it would just be a tactical sub. And then in 2031, they'd be like, this is just stupid. Let's just have an extra. And then we'll have it on the bench. Then in just fucking leave it. Just fucking...
I think we've got it at 23 players. I don't think we'll ever have 24 players.
No, I think the sub is fine.
If we do 5 on the bench, that's it.
Because the sub was brought in to mitigate players forcing back onto the ground with concussion, which it
The
hasn't
the real answer should just be, if you have an injury, you can swap out for one of your emergencies. You've got 3 emergencies named. They should be there playing, ready to play.
I think what we actually need to do is, with the sub, if you've used a tactical sub and then someone has an injury that ends their
You
day,
can send them back on?
You can then change the sub.
I think that can only work if it's concussion, because
Yeah.
you have to rule
Yeah,
that player
no, I
out
agree
for
with
the
that.
next week.
Yeah.
I think if you did that for like a hamstring and then, they're fine to play next week, that's sus. I think it has to be only concussion if you do that. But again, that adds more confusion, which is what doctors are trying to get rid of, because they don't want to be fucking around with that.
Yeah.
I think 5 on the bench just works. And as we discussed previous weeks, 5 on the bench allows teams to successfully have a second ruck in the team. Or, allow like a young wingman to get experience.
I'll fix it.
Will you?
Yeah, we go back to like 1956. No bench.
No bench.
18 players.
Then we would just go even further towards just athletes.
Yeah, no, that'd be horrible.
It would just be athletes.
All right,
and
what if we do
Errol Goulden.
basketball? 18-man bench. Full...
But only 5 on field?
No. 18 on the field, 18 on the bench. You can do a full... If you really want...
How many players would Collingwood be able to field?
Just so right, I'm Richmond.
Yeah.
We have 60-man lists,
Some
I guess.
some teams are struggling to... And that wouldn't work either because you'd be fielding VFL sides.
Yeah, Jack Mayo would be playing.
You got a
Without
thing
a
for Jack
doubt.
Mayo.
Yeah, I watch him every week. It's really annoying. I just keep getting scheduled on Super Games. Like, fucking... And, like, it's really funny because I just say it
Put
reflexively.
him in the metadata for the episode, so if he Googles himself,
If he
the
Googles
podcast
himself?
comes
Yeah.
up.
Like, I reflexively do it for every former player, but I'll be like, St Kilda hero Jack Mayo. And I feel like he's one that's so obscure that every time I work with someone new, they go, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, it's fucking Jack Mayo. I don't
How
know,
many
man.
games did he play for?
He played,
I'm looking it up.
it was only a couple. Was it any?
That's the question. You
'Cause
can't
we got
call him a hero.
Collingwood hero John O'Marsh and Eagles and Freo hero Hugh Dixon.
Does he have a Wikipedia page? That's the tell-all. Doesn't look like it.
Let's have a look. Jack Mayo. No.
I don't think he played a single game.
Because he was a mid-season, I think.
He was listed for 2 years.
And then he disappeared.
You a hero if you were on a list for 2 years and don't play a game? I mean, I'd tell stories
As much
about it.
success as most Saints players have had.
Oof.
That's rough. Gary
Listen.
won some Colemans.
Individual successes, I guess.
Gary won some Colemans.
Yeah.
So did Lockett. So did,
Some All-Australians.
yeah. Harvey won a Brownlow.
They got a rising star? They probably got a rising star.
Nick Rewalt.
Yeah.
At
He
least.
rose
At
too
least. Anyway.
I'm not looking them all up. He says as he picks up his phone to look them all up.
Yeah. Charlie Constable, he runs around. I think Sam Simpson's meant to run around Perth this year.
Oh, Koshitsky and Rewalt won them back to back.
Back to back.
And then nothing.
Yeah.
What clubs have had the most, do you reckon? Actually, just a question. How many do you think the most is?
5.
Wrong. 3.
3. Carlton.
No, Carlton have only had 1. Yeah.
Just Walsh.
Just Walsh.
Shit. So
We
John's,
know
John's
Crip-
only had 1.
Cripps got robbed. We all know that one.
And you
Geelong have
maintain
1.
Wiedering should have won it over Hogan.
No, it was Cripps Hogan.
Oh, it's Cripps Hogan.
And they said it has to be the forward. Forward's a harder role. And then they swapped it around next time there was a forward.
It was like the most goals a forward.
Oh, yeah. Sydney have 3. Fremantle have 3. Melbourne have 3.
Interesting.
Well, Luke Jackson no longer plays for Melbourne.
How many do North and Geelong have? Because
North have 2. Geelong have 1.
So it'll be...
There are 3 teams without a rising star, and one is Fitzroy, so that doesn't count. Who are they? One of them's a shock.
So Port had Daniel Pearce. Richmond?
Richmond have had 1.
1.
It was Brett Delidio.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Adelaide.
Adelaide have actually had 1, and it was Daniel Talia.
Oh, was he?
I knew that. Yeah.
Good for him. Who are they then? I'm clearly...
Hold on.
Port had Daniel Pearce.
Daniel Talia took it from Jeremy Cameron by 10 votes.
West Coast?
No, it is GWS, which is a shock,
Really?
and Western Bulldogs have never had a rising star.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Considering, Bailey Smith got done in by Sam Walsh, but that was their closest,
Yep.
probably their closest. And GWS...
No, Bont should have won it. He was robbed. Lewis fucking Taylor won it. Over Marcus Bontempelli.
Yep, by 1 vote.
Yeah. Let's rescind that one. Take that away from Brisbane.
Yes.
And move to Sydney later, yeah.
I was having a look. I guess GWS, who have been their closest? They didn't even have one that year. That's crazy.
Cogs? Kelly? They must have gotten close.
Kelly got 1 vote total.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus, okay.
I'm just looking through real quick. Wow, they've really suffered in this award. They have barely polled at all.
Well, they've had 2 Rising Star winners play for them in Hogan and Delidio.
And Reece Palmer.
Oh, 3, yeah, you're right.
Can't forget Reece Palmer.
I often do.
Endurance king.
Until I see someone wearing a cast on the field and I go, oh, the Reece Palmer.
Tom Green was second to Luke Jackson. Luke Jackson was 51 votes.
Jackson
Tom Green
had
was
to win
38.
that, yeah, that was... Oh, speaking of...
Errol Goulden, 11 votes. That's one that'll age well.
Speaking of Reece Palmer, in a very holistic sense, Alex Pearce
The fuck? Okay, yeah.
being rushed back a game early with a cast. Gonna have to pay a fine. Gonna go to Starlight Foundation. That's fine. cars have to be flesh coloured, and he wore a purple and yellow one.
Oh, okay. That's what
Starlight.
one of my Fremantle supporting friends was having a whinge about the commentators having a whinge, and I was like,
That's
why
a
do you care?
really dumb thing to do for Freo at this time of year.
Yeah, he's out until at least the first week of finals.
Yeah, at least the finals, and he's so important, and he's having such a good
No,
season.
they've got a good backup.
And now, like, guaranteed he's not All-Australian, because he had maybe enough time to make it up, but now he does not. So,
It is actually quite tough, the All-Australian
All-Australian fullback
selection.
especially, yeah.
Because
Collins, Andrews, Wiedering.
I think those are the main three, but they've all missed and they've all had down patches. I think Collins is the safest bet.
Collins has to be it, I think. At the moment.
The other thing is, Tom Stewart, out of form for 6 weeks, is now a midfielder. Are they just going to put him on the halfback pocket?
I keep getting annoyed when I see people release their team of the weeks and they've got him on the halfback flank.
He doesn't play there
I
anymore.
saw consecutive weeks, and he's a good defensive midfielder at the moment. But I saw consecutive weeks, there was a team of the week that had, the first week it had Tom Stewart on halfback when he played in the midfield and had 30 and fucking like 10 scoring moments or something. And then the next week it had Nick Martin on halfback when he played half forward. Like, it's frustrating. And it also proved to me that Nick Martin should play wing and half forward, as we said
we've discussed
at the start of the year.
I think we called that in pre-season.
But yeah, like, you can't pick Stewart there now. You can't.
Well, they will.
They will.
They will. He'll get his, is it his 6th All-Australian? And it's probably somehow even less deserved than the last one.
I saw someone referring to Nick Dacos as a lock for All-Australian, and I was
don't
like,
think so.
I don't think so at all, because, I mean, Cripps, Bont, Goulden, Heaney.
Heaney will play half forward.
Heaney's wavering now, and obviously half forward.
Merritt.
I mean, I've got Chalor ahead of him.
Merritt and
Merritt's a
Treloar.
lock. I think Dacos is bench, maybe.
You've got Sarong, probably.
Yeah, no.
I think if Dacos makes it, it's bench, and he might not even make that.
I saw some people
I
being...
think honestly, you could probably argue Crisp ahead of him, but
They're
let's not get onto that.
talking about Dacos, and they're like, yeah, well, he was the best player in a premiership team. And they're like, by what metric? Because he didn't win the Norm Smith or the best and fairest. That was Bobby Hill and Josh Dacos.
You and your Collingwood fan arguments on Twitter.
I didn't get into
don't
that
know
one.
how
I just
you-
witnessed it and I laughed. Usually it's like I'll say something offhand and then Collingwood fans are like, this was a targeted attack.
I like to post
Like when...
and then just walk away and never look at it again.
when I can't even remember what something happened the other week, but someone just tweeted something and they were like genuinely quite nice about Dacos in it, but because it had like a slight at the way he plays football in it,
Wasn't it the contested possessions thing?
attack against him? No, it was before that. It was just before that happened. Shout out to Cody for fucking those hard ball get stats. I think Wheelo's adding it to his numbers soon, so that'll be really interesting.
Oh yeah, I haven't checked Wheelo this week because I've been so footied out.
Yeah, I was on there today looking up
Changed their ladder yet?
how Essendon's backline is technically worse this year than last year.
Yep,
in
Bulldogs have jumped
most
up to
metrics. Anyway, I'm footied out.
I think they're severely underrating Neil in those Brownlow votes.
I totally agree with you.
How is he only at 19.4?
A lot of the Brownlow vote things like have Petrarca doing really well currently, but obviously understanding that he
Yeah.
has missed so much football because he was in insane form before he got injured. Which is another thing where, like, if you get Petrarca back into Melbourne and a full pre-season into Oliver because he is a gut runner, that's a different football team.
Yep.
I
Part of
don't
their
think there's-
defensive issues at the moment is that they're leaking midfield. They've had to take Rivers out of defence, and they're already leaking score. So the fact that they don't have two midfielders who can both attack and defend, because Oliver can gut run, not helping.
No, not at all. And Oliver is still like the number one Melbourne inside mid this year. Like that's the other thing about the fucking crazy shit people are talking. In the games he's played, he's still been their best hardball get player in their team, and he's like number 16 in the comp for average. Like it's being so overblown. Like his death has been greatly exaggerated.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I think he will be fine. We saw those couple of games he played in a row there when Petrarca was still in the team, and it was like, oh, okay, so he's still...
Yeah, everyone
He
was
can still play football.
everyone was like, "Oh, grab him back for fantasy," and that was a
And then he
fucking shit
died.
show. There was that Freo game, and everyone went, "Oh no!"
Yeah. Freo like, we can play against hard-bodied midfields if it's only Clayton Oliver in there.
It's hard because they've also lost Brayshaw. So they've literally lost their top three line mids.
Yeah.
Right now.
And Salem can't stay on the park.
Yep. So that's four, and then you're playing what? Neil Bullen.
Cosby's having to be more almost full-time mid now instead of
Yeah.
rotating through there. Like Neil Bullen has stepped up admirably.
Neil Bullen and Rivers have been good, but they are not A-grade midfielders.
No.
They are rotations. It's like if you did that to any side...
When you take that midfield into a game against Fremantle with no ruck...
It's like if you had to play Brad Close as a full-time mid at Geelong, or you had to play Lockie Fogarty at Carlton, who also I just wanted to quickly note on, he's missed 6 games with the injury, and he is only 3 goal assists off the top, which is crazy. He's not Brian Myers level, obviously, but it's quite impressive. His goal assists.
I mean, as we saw on the stats from Emlyn Brees, he's the most important player of the comp.
Yep.
Yeah, the other, like you say, Stengel for Geelong had to play a lot of midfield minutes last year when they were running low, and it wasn't good.
Yeah, you can't have those players, they're burst. You
Yeah.
put them in there to give rest to the other players.
When Geelong were having like
And there's a point of
50%
difference.
late last year with Cameron and Stengel in the midfield, and it's like, oh, well, no wonder this is
It's like,
shit.
yeah, it's the same as chucking Jeremy Howe up forward one week. You go, oh shit, this is a surprise. And then next week they're like,
Yeah, and then
we've
you go,
got a plan for this.
and then you go, you know what we'll do? Now that we've got all our defenders back, we won't help Moore out at all. We'll drop Frampton now. What we'll do is we'll make it so that Moore still has to play the role he's clearly uncomfortable playing, and we'll drop Frampton. And we won't worry about Chol kicking a billion or Cal Shadir being a good marking forward target. I like Cal Shadir. I think he's very good, considering
It's a weird name.
first year player, and he was their most important on that sheet. And I think it's just having a second forward target that can bring the ball to ground is it's so important.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah, we're just a weird random footy fact time.
We've gone.
We went through the whole Rising Star. Like, what else do you want from us? There's no more minutes left. I've given her all she's got, Captain.
And this week, I'm gonna make it a lower quality upload so that it uploads, because that almost did my head in last week.
Yeah, I was convinced it was the Microsoft shit, but no, you just made the file too big.
I made the file too big. But like, it wasn't the longest episode, and I've been doing it at that quality the whole time. But anyway, thank you for listening, especially you, Zaid. This was for you.
This is for you.
I'm not at cricket, but I'm in your car radio at 7 in the morning. You probably start work before then, don't you?
He's probably listening through his headphones while he's working.
Yeah, he probably is. Yeah, that's what I do.
He probably just tunes in for the 2 seconds where we talk bad about Essendon and then just zones out again.
He puts it through a transcript reader and he just plays a few keywords.
Control F Essendon, Control F Mackay.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Bye.